URC quarterfinals are in the bag, folks. We know who will be the final four progressing through to the next round of the URC. We'll go through the matches, some of the key stats and events from the games that were, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on who the favourites are with next week's games already decided. Now, I watched the first one, Glasgow and the Stormers live. I did a full match review for that one. The too long didn't read version of that. I think Glasgow found a bit of their mojo, and I think the Stormers didn't play their best game. Missed tackles and drop ball. Very much the story of the day for the Stormers. The Stormers have looked like a team who on their day could beat anybody, and on their day could also put in a really bad shift. And sadly for them, I think they kind of got more of the latter than the former. But you got to give credit to Glasgow. Glasgow finished the URC season kind of poorly, but with the return of a few guys, they certainly created a heap of attacking chances and were pretty good value for their 36-18 win. Their scrum, though, is of great concern because without Xander Fagerson there on the tight head, they were conceding a heck of a lot at scrum time. So that's going to have to be markedly better if they are going to have a chance in their semi-final. The next game was the Bulls in Edinburgh. And that one was more entertaining than I expected. I figured that would be kind of one of the, with all due respect to Edinburgh, I thought that was kind of going to be a bit of a walkover game down at Loftus. Edinburgh didn't get that message though, because both teams put on an absolutely amazing, entertaining display of rugby. This is supposed to be finals footy. It's supposed to be tight and all penalties and, high tackle counts. But this was a bunch of tries. Absolutely thrilling entertainment. I didn't know any of the results of these three games, which I didn't watch live because we were talking like 11:30 p.m., I think 2 in the morning and 4:30 in the morning. Although I will admit, when I saw the length of the Sharks versus Munster broadcast at like almost 3 bloody hours, I knew something was up with that game. So that game I was kind of tipped off, although I didn't know anything about any of the results, so I still managed to remain as oblivious as ever. But the Bulls in Edinburgh, as I said, very entertaining game. Edinburgh did make the most of that early yellow card period when Sebastian de Klerk got pinged for a hit on Darcy Graham. They scored a couple of tries, although the Bulls did get a penalty during that time. But 14 points to 3, what a cracking way to start down in Loftus if you're Edinburgh, to kind of keep the Loftus crowd a little bit quieter. To put a little bit of doubt in their minds, and the Edinburgh backs were looking, very sharp. So it was very pleasing to see. But despite their 14 points to 3 lead, Edinburgh did concede a try through the power of Cameron Hanekom. He is certainly some unit. But then, at one point it was 21-8. The Bulls actually conceded a penalty at scrum time. Largely the Edinburgh scrum was on the back foot, but they conceded the first scrum penalty to the Bulls, and Edinburgh made the most of that to get a try from a line-up play. So 21-8. I was genuinely thinking Edinburgh are a bit of a chance, but the Bulls, bang, bang, two more tries before halftime. 21-18 at halftime. Honestly, this is not, quarterfinals rugby is not supposed to be played quite like that. Second half, the Bulls get another scrum penalty. They get themselves in front, line out, maul. And then the backs get into action. LaRue was pulling the strings from everywhere. Kane and Moody. So 25-21. And they really pushed their lead up the Bulls. So a little bit of a turnaround from the first half where it was Edinburgh dictating a bit more of the play. The Bulls really upped it a gear. Loose ball. They punished it. Johannes has got a wicked step on him as well and a bit of gas. 32-21. They kick a 50-22 to the Bulls. They punish from close range. 39-21. At that point, I figured, this game is done. I was questioning it in the first half, but no, at 39-21, I was pretty sure the Bulls had it in the bag. Although when Ashman scored and the Bulls got a yellow card, it did feel like the door was a little bit left open. But nah, as soon as Edinburgh basically got that man advantage, they conceded a yellow card of their own, despite the fact that they did score during the 14-on-14 period. Aka van der Merwe shut down an Edinburgh Maul play towards the end of the game, and you knew at that point she was game over. So, yeah, you got to give credit to Bulls scrum. Despite conceding that early penalty, they really took the momentum, I feel like, out of the Edinburgh game. Darcy Ray Sorry, me and my father-in-law have been on a couple of drinks with dinner just now. Darcy Ray conceded like 3 penalties at scrum time. Hanekom was a unit, beat 4 defenders. Hamish Watson made 15 tackles. So, yeah, line break 6-7. Really open and free-flowing game for a quarterfinal. As I said, nobody told these guys it's supposed to be a kind of tightly contested arm wrestle of an affair. Then Leinster and Scarlets, which I figured would be a blowout. And it was looking like it when they got early tries. James at Gibson Park and James Lowe. Early tries for Leinster, 12-0. You're figuring surely the Scarlets boys are going to cop a absolute walloping here. No. I feel like Leinster are a little bit guilty in this game of playing a bit loose. They were clearly trying to keep the tempo high. But I feel like this is the kind of game against the Scarlets where maybe you just need to revert to your structures and kind of try to grind them into the dust. Almost like when you see, maybe it's not a fair comparison, but when you see like a tier 2 team go up against a tier 1 team at test level, like just maul the hell out of them. Just go to your set piece and you'll surely get a win. But by playing high tempos, taking quick line out throws, and then occasionally there being a bit of loose ball, I felt like that played into the Scarlets' hands, and the Scarlets certainly were able to punish at times. I mean, when they got the backs going, Tom Rogers scored a heck of a try to make it 12-7. It got pretty helter-skelter. Leinster eventually had to opt for a 3-pointer because of how much the game had kind of tightened up at 15-7. And then when they had a quick tap penalty right before half-time, Leinster ended up coughing up the ball. The Scarlets hoofed the ball multiple times up length of the field and go try time. So honestly, 15-14 at half-time, that's genuinely a bit concerning for Leinster. As I said, I feel like taking a bit of the pace out of their kind of attack and just looking to play a bit more a squeeze of a game would have worked better against the Scarlets. But yeah, the Scarlets still made some mistakes in the second half. They had a line out and go not straight, ended up getting punished. The Osborne kind of early second half try. So again, you make an error and Leinster immediately punish it. Costello had a shot at goal to kind of get them back within a score, but that one was missed. So missed chances for the Scarlets, and then Hepburn getting a yellow card. Key moment for Leinster. They initially kind of fluffed their lines, but eventually are able to get another try. So 27-14, and then another 3-pointer in the yellow card to make it 30 points to 14. It's starting to look, pretty much like all she wrote. Johnny Williams' one did make it a little bit kind of tasty towards the end, but it never really looked like the Scarlets were going to come back and nick that one. Line breaks are 8-4 to Leinster, so if anything, they probably could have scored some more points. Turnovers conceded as 15-17, so both sides are a bit guilty of dropping some ball. Blair Murray, though, he is absolutely on fire at the back for the Scarlets. 8 defenders beaten. That guy is a proper live wire. Hugo Keenan beat 6. He was also impressive for Leinster. Leinster had the possession, had the territory. Maybe not that convincing at 33-21. But I still think it's going to take some beating for them at Dublin. So that sets up a match against Glasgow. If I'm Leinster, having looked at the footage, I mean, you want to put the pressure on Glasgow at scrum and just go set piece, I reckon. Glasgow, I feel like, are another team that if you try to play just high tempo and a bit loose, I feel like they will certainly be a team that can punish. And then the final game, as I said, I wasn't spoiled, but given that it was an almost 3-hour broadcast, I knew something was up with this one. Munster 7-0 at halftime. This one, somebody told them it is a knockout match. It is supposed to be tight. I feel like Munster probably had the better at least of the first 20 minutes. They certainly looked way sharper of these two teams. The Sharks didn't really look at the races. You had the Mexican wave going on like 27 minutes because the Sharks fans had not had a lot to get behind in the first period of that game. The Sharks did put a bit of pressure on at the death of the first half, but Tyke Burns' intercept kind of shut that one down. So 7-0 halftime was a really tight affair. But the Sharks did find a bit of their mojo in the second half. Ethan Hooker managed to get a try. He was looking probably the most dangerous of the Sharks' outside backs. 7 points apiece, and then the penalty put the Sharks in front, 10 points to 3. But then, yeah, it gets really kind of momentum swinging back Munster's way when they bag a couple of tries to go 21-10 up. Like when Munster get the quick ball attack going, remember this is the farewell for some Munster guys if they lose this one. So they got everything on the line for these Munster legends. So they go up 21-10 when they go a quick fire double. Mapimpi slipping for a Munster kick through, not being able to cover back certainly didn't help. But 21-10 with 20 minutes to go, that's looking dangerous for the Sharks, but maybe that pumped the Sharks up. Eben Etzebeth also had a hell of a shiner on his face, and that's when he took whatever it was. Must have been a pretty big hit to the face, but yeah, Fussy got a try, and then Mbata got a try, so they go in front, 24 points to 21, and then there's a penalty for Munster, long range one. Conor Murray makes it 24 points apiece, extra time. So I knew it was extra time based on the length of the broadcast. I didn't realise this one would go down to a flippin' kicking contest. Like, this is the stuff of legend. I've seen replays of a very old one with, like, was it Leicester Tigers on YouTube from years ago. I've never, like, sat through a kicking contest. Like, the extra time, the Sharks maybe should have won it. Munster's defence was incredible to hold them out in the first half of extra time. Second half was a bit more open of extra time, but there was a lot of coughed up ball. But in the kicking contest, Jaden Hendrickse and Crowley both nail their first ones. Jordan Hendrickse nails his. Rory Scannell misses. Bradley Davids and Murray nail theirs. And then second round, the first one's from the 22-metre line. In the second round of kicks, everyone nails them, but that means the Sharks, with Rory Scannell having missed, take it out. Jaden Hendrickse going down and claiming a bit of cramp, which I think was true, and then giving a wink at Crowley caused a little bit of a heated exchange. But on a kick contest, it is the Sharks that go through to the semis. That is quite incredible. I did not see that coming. The Sharks' 21 turnovers conceded, albeit with extra time, is still quite an incredible number. They will need to be a lot better in their match against the Bulls next week. They dominated the possession. They dominated the territory. Munster's defence made 200-plus tackles, so the Sharks will certainly need to be a bit sharper. Ethan Hooker had 9 defenders beaten, which is quite sharp, but also 4 turnovers conceded, which ain't. So it's a real mixed bag. Niall Scannell, 22 tackles. All the top tacklers were Munster guys. So, yeah, Leinster up against Glasgow again. They've played each other quite a few times recently. End of the URC regular season was a close one. Champions Cup was not. Be interested to see if Leinster's attack can click, because as I said, it didn't look to be all that cohesive against the Scarlets. And then the Sharks and the Bulls. I reckon Loftus will get a way better crowd than they did against Edinburgh. There'll be a lot of travelling fans, I would imagine, and that should be an absolute cracker. Both scrums were pretty important in their game, so seeing a bunch of Springboks going head-to-head in the front row will be a fascinating one to watch. But what a crazy round of games. Apologies for the belated nature of this quick recap. All the games were on in the middle of the night, and then I had to take my in-laws, who are in the country at the moment, out for the day, and then I've just been having a few drinks with the father-in-law, so it's been all over the shop. But here we are. URC, there's just 4 teams left. Who do you guys reckon are the favourites for this one? Will we see another final in South Africa if Glasgow can upset Leinster, or will Leinster get to their first ever URC final? Which South African team will make the final, because they are guaranteed to have one? You guys take care. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.